The music mogul no longer the party king of the Hamptons. Instead, now the accused ringleader of what federal prosecutors call a sex-fueled criminal enterprise that allegedly spanned decades, instilling fear and destroying lives. Diddy is facing sex trafficking and racketeering charges and has already spent 8 months behind bars. Tomorrow, he will be heading to court for the start of jury selection, setting up his high-profile federal trial in Manhattan. The indictment describes so-called freak-offs, drug-fueled orgies where women were forced to have sex while Diddy filmed. He's accused of silencing his victims through abuse, allegedly choking, beating, and dragging those who knew, even once dangling someone from a balcony. But Diddy's lawyers insist this was consensual adult behavior and say he is being targeted because of his fame and fortune. They're arguing the accusations are exaggerated and fueled by a massive settlement paid to his ex-girlfriend, singer Cassies. She is reportedly the star witness for the prosecution in what is sure to be an explosive trial. Here to break things down before a busy day in court begins is attorney Marc Reichel. Marc, always good to see you. Thanks for joining us on this.
Thank you, Natasha.
And the day is finally approaching here, jury selection starting tomorrow. What are prosecutors and the defense attorneys looking for in these jurors, especially with this much celebrity and sex and violence? I mean, are they seeking people who don't know who he is? And what about people who've been affected by sexual violence themselves?
That's okay. The second thing, that's going to be the tough part, is to go through that. They're going to go through a lot of people on this jury selection. It's not so much, to be honest with you, whether they've heard of it, because that happens a lot. High profile cases, we still get jurors, obviously, because the judge is really usually pretty good at saying, look, set all that aside. Would you agree to do that? And people always say that. But it's very touchy, very sensitive, very intimate when we talk about, anybody who's been the victim of any type of sexual violence or sexual harassment. So that's going to be the harder part. That's going to cause a long jury selection process.
Prosecutors say Diddy used his music empire, including employees and business ventures, to facilitate crimes, to silence victims. How difficult is it for witnesses to come forward when they're up against this kind of power and influence?
It is going to be a big deal, honestly, because the cross-examination of these people is going to be big. First of all, they're obviously going to hit at, you're aware of how much money he has and so forth, and kind of hint that they're waiting to get their big payday when the case is over. I think that's going to be the real thrust of the cross-examination, because that's something they can't deny, that, it sounds like there's a lot of money that could be paid in a civil lawsuit. So
does that often resonate with jurors, the idea of, hey, these people are coming out of the woodwork and they have dollar signs in their eyes?
It can, and it has, but it does, to be honest with you, yes.
Diddy's lawyers say, this was consensual behavior, they say. Consensual behavior between adults. From what you have seen, how strong or weak is that defense?
That's, first of all, they're going with the best that they have, and as close to the truth is what they're going to try to do. And there is some validity to some of that. It's like, well, what did you do the next day? Did you go to the police the next day? Did you, tell anybody else about this? Contact relatives and say this happened? So if the answer is no to that, they're going to, ask the jury to ask themselves, why? If this happened to you, wouldn't you do that? So that's going to be a big thrust as well. I'm not saying it's going to prevail, but that's, again, what you've said is going to be the defense.
I want to talk about Cassies. She is expected to testify. The jury will be seeing that surveillance video of Diddy assaulting her in a hotel hallway. I mean, is his defense just cringing at this? How significant is this video in the context of building this broader racketeering and sex trafficking case?
From 35 years now in federal court doing criminal defense like this in high-profile cases, that's one you're going to try to move away from as fast as possible. The longer that stays in the courtroom, the longer people talk about it, the worse it is for you. So I think what they're going to try to do is carve that out later in closing argument and say, look, they got him on that one. We have to admit that's beyond a reasonable doubt. That evidence, we've paid for that. He's charged in Los Angeles. We've paid our price for that. That was wrong. Does the rest of the evidence meet that exact level, is what they're going to ask.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.